Good morning. My name is Elise Richmond, and it is my privilege to welcome you to the Neuqua Valley Veterans Day ceremony. My father, Jerry Richmond, served in the Navy, and I am thankful for the opportunity to be one of your hosts today. I'd like to take a quick moment to thank the Jazz Orchestra under the direction of Mr. Law for providing the music while everyone was entering the auditorium. Let's give them a nice round of applause.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Madison Riley. My father, Peter Riley, proudly served in the United States Coast Guard. I am so pleased that I can honor him by being a host this morning. The pictures you saw as you entered the auditorium were of veterans related to Neuqua Valley students. We are grateful for their service.
I have the pleasure this morning to introduce Sergeant Matthew Griffin from the Illinois Army National Guard for posting the colors and the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing until you're asked to seat. Posting the colors today are 4 Neuqua Valley students who have earned or are in the process of earning the honorable distinction of the Eagle Scout Award or the Gold Scout Silver Award.
Color Guard, attention. Forward, march. Color Guard, halt. Color Guard, prepare to post the colors. Post colors. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all. Color Guard, salute. 2. Color Guard, retreat. Color Guard, halt. Dismiss. Please remain standing for the singing of the national anthem performed by Neuqua Valley Jr., Shreya Maturi.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh,
may be seated.
Our theme for the Veterans Ceremony is the choice to serve. Today we'll have the chance to honor two of our parents who made the choice to serve, my father included in that group. We'll introduce you to some Neuqua Valley seniors who will share their interest to pursue service by way of military academies and institutions. We also have the opportunity to hear a keynote address from the veteran of the Vietnam War who achieved the highest military rank for an enlistee, Chief Master Sergeant. Finally, we'll enjoy some meaningful music from our Neuqua Valley varsity singers while we honor through photographs and music Neuqua Valley staff and family members who have served. At this time, I would like to invite my father, Peter Riley, to join me at the podium. As said before, this is my dad, Peter Riley. He served in the United States Coast Guard as a helicopter mechanic. Because he worked on helicopters, he would go on rescue flights from time to time. Due to this, he has 6 rescues. And as a little kid, this was very cool. You see in movies people being superheroes, saving people, and wishing they were real. But my dad was like my real-life superhero. He actually saved people, and just knowing that has always been something so impactful. Having a parent in the military means to me that you get to hear a lot of interesting, inspiring stories. And I've heard so many crazy ones, one of which involves him putting his hand in someone's leg. Yeah, inside. And I'm gonna save the grave details because it gets pretty unsettling. I can't even imagine being only a couple years older than I am now, being in that situation, having to act on the spot of something you were never fully trained how to do. It always seemed just so inspiring to hear that your dad has actually done something so impactful. I was always so interested in it, just like most would if they heard some of the inspiring things my dad has done. Which leads me to my next point. You also get someone to look up to. I have looked up to him my whole life. Ever since I can remember, I always wanted to be just like him, wanting to tell people all the crazy stories I have done just like he did with me. Not only is he my hero, but he has pushed me to go for anything my sister and I want to achieve. He has always been so supportive of anything we want to do, and because of him and all his crazy life experiences, I have also chosen to enlist in the United States military. And it's all because of him. He has been the one rooting for me to do it for so long, and knowing that he has such an amazing time, I hope I can have that too. So, to end, I would like to say thank you. Thank you, Dad, for choosing to serve our country and having such a great impact. And thank you to my awesome cousin, Danielle, who is currently serving in the United States Air Force. And lastly, thank you to all veterans who have chosen to serve our country. Happy Veterans Day. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce my father, Jerry Richmond. My dad, Jerry Lamar Richmond Jr., was in the Navy from 1997 until 2007. He served on the USS Kitty Hawk as an avionic operations first-class petty officer, which is commonly referred to as an E6, where he served in Operation Enduring Freedom in the global war on terrorism. During his time in the Navy, my dad had unbelievable opportunities, such as being able to visit places all over the world. For example, Dubai, Hong Kong, and Singapore, just to name a few. He was also in charge of the cryptological equipment, or in other words, the black box. Meaning that if something were to happen to the ship, he was in charge of making sure he grabbed the black box and returned it safely. My dad was honorably discharged from the Navy after 2 terms as I was on the way into this world. Because of this, I don't have any stories of him being in the Navy or him coming home surprising the rest of my family in a flamboyant way, which you would see on YouTube or maybe TikTok. However, I can talk for hours about his character traits that he has and have helped him during his journeys, trials, and tribulations in the Navy. My father is kind in ways that are deeper than the surface. On the outside, most don't know and probably even overlook how kind and considerate he is as a person. He always tries to put my mom, sister, and I first no matter what. His selflessness, I'm sure, allowed him to flourish in the Navy. He doesn't have to put people down to get ahead, but he brings them up alongside him. Along with a surplus of selflessness, he is one of the most creative people I know. He never fails to surprise me with all the new ways and creative ideas he has to help my day-to-day life become more efficient. His creativity has always come in handy when I need help with a school project. I have also gained my love of cooking from my dad. I grew up watching my dad in the kitchen, but mostly outside the grill, as he calls himself the grill master. From a young age, I saw how his face lit up when he was in the kitchen listening to his 90s rap playlist with highlights from Tupac, E40, and Scarface. If I woke up to the smell of music and onions, I knew my dad was in the kitchen doing what he loved most. While I gained my love of cooking from my dad, I did not gain his love of the kitchen being clean. Why? I did not gain the love. It was one of his biggest pet peeves when I leave the kitchen dirty, and I'm sure the Navy loved his knack for cooking and cleaning and his cleanliness. My dad is one of the funniest people I know. While it may take a minute to realize my dad is joking, as you can't always see it on his face, once you understand his humor, he is undeniably one of the funniest people I know. To me, having a family member who has served in the military is more than just being able to say he served in the military, as I don't talk about it often. To me, it means to have someone who cares enough about the world to try to help it. Finally, my dad is my hero, not only because of all the dedication he has to protecting this country and me, but because of all the times he's been protecting, helping, and sacrificing for me and the rest of my family. He has watched me grow up into the person I am today. Thank you, Dad, so much for everything you have done. I love you.
We have two student speakers this morning, Joseph Comey and Robert Glenn. These Neuqua Valley seniors are pursuing post-secondary opportunities at military academies or institutions. Please welcome Joseph Comey to the podium.
Duty, honor, respect. That is the motto of the Citadel Military College of South Carolina, an institution I've been fortunate enough to be accepted to. Early in high school, I realized I did not want to go to the traditional college route after graduation. I began to look at other routes, such as directly enlisting, but found there were more opportunities by earning commission and attending one of the senior military colleges. On the trip to Charleston, I found the Citadel. There, you wake up every morning to the bugle calls of revelry and end it with the echo of taps. In between, your day is regimented with military training, uniform inspections, physical training, and classes. Your dorms are barracks, and your cafeteria is a mess hall. One must maintain a standard of excellence, not only in academics, but also in discipline, with a lifelong obligation to morality and ethics. It is these values that distinguish a Citadel alumni. Upon completing the Citadel's cadet program, I hope to earn a commission in the United States Marine Corps as a second lieutenant. I chose the Marines because of battles won like Belleau Wood and Marine Corps heroes such as Dan Daly, Chesty Puller, Smedley Butler, and John Basilone. The heroism and tradition earned by past Marines is something I hope to aspire to. Also, today marks the 248th birthday of the Marine Corps. Lastly, I'd like to honor my uncle, who inspired me to join the service. Master Chief Michael Gentoli proudly served 3 years in the National Guard and 30 years in the Coast Guard. He passed away 6 months before his planned retirement. Thank you for your time, and please welcome Robert Glenn to the podium.
Hello. Today I'll be speaking not only about my father's service, but also my own choice to serve. So sorry if it gets a bit longer, and also sorry if my voice is dead. I was missing school yesterday because I was sick. So I'll admit that when I was first offered the opportunity to speak at this event, I hesitated. Veterans Day is a holiday whose purpose is to celebrate veterans, and I, clearly, am not a veteran. However, this ceremony is entitled The Choice to Serve, and my choice to pursue a career of service was inspired by a veteran, specifically by my father. My father is currently an airline pilot, but he spent the first decade or so of his career in the Navy. Growing up, I pretty much saw him as Maverick from Top Gun, but let's be honest, Tom Cruise, that guy's got nothing on my dad. Jokes aside, unlike Maverick, my dad did not fly Super Hornets, but instead flew an aircraft called the P-3 Orion. The P-3 Orion is a tactical maritime patrol aircraft whose missions include patrol, reconnaissance, anti-surface warfare, and anti-submarine warfare. This was how he chose to serve. As a senior, my classmates and I find ourselves at the great crossroads of life. And when it was my dad's time to choose the path down which he would embark, he chose to serve. Was this an easy choice? No. A comfortable choice? No. A safe choice? Not entirely. But by strapping on his flight suit, climbing into his P-3, and tracking Russian submarines in the Atlantic and the Mediterranean, my father ensured the safety of our nation and the security of its future. My father did not choose an easy career, but a fulfilling career. A career in which he could take great pride, and a career rich with unique experiences and opportunities. This ideal is not unique to my father, to maritime patrol, or even to naval aviation. As we sit here today, tens of thousands of sailors stand at watch around the globe. Some fly and maintain F-35s, F-18s, or E-2s, while others man cruisers, destroyers, carriers, and submarines, or even serve on elite SEAL teams. But one thing which unites every man and woman in the Navy is a steadfast commitment to the defense of our nation and an unwavering resolve to succeed by any means necessary. I find the men and women of the Navy and of our military at large inspiring as they serve as America's first line of defense. The Navy not only ensures the protection of our nation itself, but upholds international law, defends international trade routes, and acts as a force of deterrence against aggressive regimes and organizations. The past 3 years have shown that the future is anything but certain, with the state of international politics often seeming to become more tense and unstable with each passing day. However, I can say with the utmost certainty, we can all rest easy, so long as the Navy is on guard. This Veterans Day, I implore you to take a moment, even if just one, to remember the hundreds of thousands of American servicemen and women across all branches and across all edges of the globe who make so much sacrifice every day to ensure your freedom. Coming back to the idea of the choice to serve, the reasons behind my desire to serve in the Navy are too numerous to mention here, but ultimately they come from a place of gratitude. Whatever problems and challenges America faces, I can speak for myself and countless others when I say that this great nation has given me a life ripe with joy and opportunity and surrounded me with countless incredible individuals each and every step of the way. It is ultimately my hope that my service will play a small part in ensuring that future generations may live free of fear and enjoy lives just as blessed as my own and my father's. Thank you.
The Vietnam War was prolonged and divisive conflict that took place from 1955 until 1975. It pitted communistic forces of North Vietnam, supported by the Soviet Union and China, against the non-communistic government of South Vietnam, backed by the United States and other Western allies. The war resulted in a high human cost with over 3 million people killed, including more than 58,000 Americans. The war caused a considerable social and political division within the United States, and anti-war protests were prominent featured of the area. 2023 marks the 50th anniversary of the withdrawals of the U.S. troops of the Vietnam War, which officially ended 2 years later with the reunification of the country as a Socialist Republic of Vietnam. Earlier this year, the USS Midway Museum hosted a ceremony to recognize the anniversary and to honor our Vietnam veterans and prisoners of war. Let's see some footage captured by that special ceremony.
A lot of people say, well, thank you for your service. With Vietnam vets, in my opinion, the best thing is to say, welcome home.
It's a great day, it's a great event. I'm here with one of my triplets, my 12-year-old son who wants to be a Navy aviator.
Got to keep the history going because unfortunately just too many people forget. The guys from Korea are mostly gone now and the guys from Vietnam are getting older.
Those are some big shoes to fill, but it's also inspiring. Being able to look back and reflect is good for not only people who experienced it, but for future generations.
We're respecting the POWs because this is the 50th anniversary. I learned it from my mom.
I was 6 years old, living in Coronado, when the POWs came home. POWs were one of the few groups of Vietnam veterans that were actually celebrated, but not all the Vietnam veterans were. It's time that we recognize all of them.
On March 29th, 1973, the last American troops departed Vietnam, and the last American prisoners of war were repatriated. Exactly 50 years later, on the flight deck of USS Midway, America's 3 million Vietnam War veterans were remembered, honored, and embraced. 4 speakers represented the breadth of the nation's Vietnam experience. Navy Commander Everett Alvarez, who spent nearly 9 years as a prisoner of war. Marine Corps Colonel Jim Collins, seriously wounded as a sergeant, who recovered to earn his wings as a fighter pilot. Roy Knight, who was the young son of an aviator missing in action, a story 5 decades in the telling. And a little Vietnamese girl whose new life began as America's war ended.
Courtney Harmon was only 8 years old when the North Vietnamese invaded Saigon in '75. Along with her family, they made the miraculous escape and were flown by a military helicopter right here.
As we landed on the Midway, the scene was chaotic. I remember seeing so many American sailors. Some were helping the elderly, some were caring for the injured, and some carried babies. Their dedication, bravery, and sacrifice made it possible for my family and me, along with so many like me, to be able to realize the American dream. Future generations must understand and appreciate the price so many paid for the freedom they now enjoy. I still get chills every time I recite the words to our national anthem, and came across a slightly modified quote from the anthem that left a huge impact on me. Land of the free, because of the brave. And I would like to add to that quote, Midway.
Even as Courtney began a new life in America, Roy Knight was still awaiting word of a father missing since 1967. 3 more decades would pass, but America would not forget her fallen.
Dad's homecoming happened in August of 2019. Wherever we went, there were people coming up to the streets with their hands over their hearts and their hats off their heads. They did not know who he was, but they knew that a fallen warrior was going by, and they rendered honors to him as they should. I just want to say to all you Vietnam veterans out there, God bless you. Welcome home.
On this special day, there would be one final tribute, a shining moment of remembrance dedicated to the men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice in Vietnam and their fellow veterans who have since passed away. Jim Collins and Everett Alvarez spoke of and directly to their compatriots.
They didn't have an event like this. There was no welcoming. Somewhere I hoped there would be something that would happen to them that would give them a sense of pride in what they did. Just maybe somebody giving them a sincere shake of the hand and saying, welcome home.
We've learned a lot of lessons from Vietnam. The biggest lesson is that we must honor the service of our military men and women. As veterans, we recall that we would go wherever we were called and wherever we were sent. And you fellows, you answered the country's call. You did your duty. You served. You contributed to your country.
It is my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, my father-in-law, Chief Master Sergeant Dave Jordan, who served in the United States Air Force for over 30 years and has been actively involved in the VFW since retirement. I am very grateful that he can be here with us today to speak about his experiences.
Do I look nervous? I should. I would like to thank Mr. David Perry, Assistant Principal of Neuqua Valley High School, Christina Krensick, Lisa Trout, Aaron Brambillo, Emily Binder, and Cindy Jordan for inviting me today to give you a thumbnail view of my military service. Before I go any further, are there any Marines in the audience? Bueller? No? Well, it's their 248th year of fabulous service, and I appreciate that. 248 years, well done. Myself and my family. Well, I don't want to spend too much time on myself. It gets a little boring. I'm the 12th generation in the state, in the country. I have found 3 people that I know of who fought in the Revolutionary War, and we did the Civil War. We had a couple of officers there. Somehow we escaped World War I, except my father-in-law's, how would I explain that? My mother-in-law's father was in World War I. And then in World War II, my dad was in the Coast Guard. And then the Korean War skipped, and then guess what? Here I come. So anyhow, I grew up in Deerfield, Illinois. That's Lake County up over yonder. When I grew up, it was just a shady little 2-bit town. Now it's getting to be a pretty throbbing metropolis in my book. I went to Deerfield High School, class of '64. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is a beautiful school. I thought Deerfield was good. I'm looking out here at the audience, and I see a lot of well-behaved young men and women. I appreciate that. Things I want to stress today. You'll get used to that in a minute. Things I want to stress are, you don't have to like it, you just have to do it. How do you eat an elephant? You get overwhelmed at school. Oh my gosh, I get this big, huge English assignment. Well, you go home. How do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. You'll get it. Never, ever take illegal drugs. Never. Don't surrender your life to some stupid pill that comes over the border or not. Just don't do it. Pot was legalized to only benefit politicians so they can have more of this, more money to spend. I wonder what the hell they're spending on. And last and least, and not least, duty, honor, country. My high school years, I had a good time at high school. They weren't all easy, but they weren't all bad too. I should have done more things. I still have a few lapsing things I'm not sure of. Are there any English teachers in the class at all? Please help me. I still don't know what a dangling participle is. I don't know. Do I need to know? Another thing. Okay, what else? A hanging participle, don't know what it means. My dad was a chemist, a pharmaceutical chemist. And I used to ask him, I said, Dad, what's the point of having protactinium? Even he couldn't tell me. So if there's a chemistry teacher out there, fill me in. And then I'm going to tell you one thing. Now, this might sound sexist to you, and I don't care. Guys, this is primarily to you. If you could take a class as a debate club or join the debate team, I would encourage you to do it. Maybe if I had done that, I could win a couple arguments with my wife. I just don't. I just don't. Speaking of, here she is right here in the front row, Marianne Jordan. We will be celebrating 53 years this month. That's a long time, 53. I never knew she could take me for that long, but we are. Another thing in November, on the 16th of November in 1964, I enlisted in the Air Force. That's almost 59 years ago. I doubt if you have one teacher in this room who's 59 years of age yet. Okay? Why did I join the Air Force? Why not? What's wrong with that? And I would have joined any service. I knew I was going to join the service at one point or another. Why did I pick the Air Force? Well, a good friend of mine was home on leave, and he happened to be in the Air Force. And I thought, hey, this guy looks good. He's spit shining his combat boots because he's going to be an air policeman, military cop. And that's how I selected. Had he been in the Army, I probably would have selected the Army. Marines, I don't know if I want to work that hard. We'll see. I don't know. All right? Everyone does not deserve to be in the armed services. Now, there are a lot of you are saying, well, why would I want to anyway? Well, why wouldn't you? You might be too heavy. You might be too short. Have poor hearing, vision, tattoos, criminal behavior, drug abuse. Those things can keep you out, and those are things that can haunt you later in life. Some might think, you got this social media stuff going around. Don't do it. Some picture that you have taken of yourself or some compromising thing, guess what? It can rear its ugly head. I have a friend of mine, a young woman, well, she's not quite that young now. She had a little cute tattoo, I think it's put here, a little rose. I saw her about a year or so ago. It's a big blurred out bouquet now. Don't get those things. Don't do it. Don't. Okay. So, basic training. These people can tell me, now they didn't go in the Air Force, so I bet you $1 to a donut. Did you guys arrive at your basic training around midnight, give or take? Yep. Yeah, see? That's intentional. I know it is. They catch you off guard. So we assembled in this one big, large room, not quite this size, and all of us are sitting there quiet because we're afraid to say anything. And up there, they start rattling off there. When I call your name off, fall out that room, out this door, and go assemble out there. Okay, we did. So they called my name. So I'm out there. I'm Mr. Cool. I got that Marlboro cigarette out there. Next thing I know, what do I hear? Who says you can smoke those damn cigarettes? Well, that was our training sergeant. I knew the party was over. In fact, the party had never begun. It's just crap. They do that. No matter what you do your first 2 or 3 weeks, it's going to be wrong. What are you, stupid? What high school did you go to? You get used to it. After a while, you get to be a finely run machine. The only fun I had, if you want to call it fun in basic training, was when you went to the rifle range. And there I could imaginary put that sergeant up there, and I'd be in a prone position. Oh boy, did he get it. All right. You train in a room. You don't squirm, you don't talk, no smoking. Shut up, do as you're told. You don't have to like it, you just have to do it. Basic training, pay attention, look sharp, use the buddy system. That will go on for the rest of your life, a buddy system. Whether it's a wife or whatever, a friend, you got to have a buddy. Look sharp, be vigilant. That means today. Be vigilant. There's a lot of stupid stuff going on out there. You don't have to like it. That's right. Don't be a slacker. Stand out as being special, because you are. After basic training, they sent me to tech school. In my particular time, they sent me to Rantoul, Illinois. Everybody knows that. It's not that far from the Champaign-Urbana. I selected vehicle maintenance. I wanted to be a truck mechanic. I don't care about airplanes. I'm sorry. I just don't care that much about them. They're big gray things with wings. That's all I know. But I got to work on these fire trucks. And some of them get to be pretty expensive. Are they as expensive as F-18? No, of course not. No. So I went there. My particular MOS, what we call it AFSC, it's the same thing. It was 23 weeks long of school. So I'm down there. We had 6 weeks of this, and we had 6 weeks of that, stuff like that. And I remember one block, we call them blocks, we were working on air brakes. And I'll never forget the instructor, was Staff Sergeant Haydenhead. And so somebody raised their head, yeah. So could you explain to us what this, on the air brake system, how it works, that quick relief valve? He said, oh, it works real well. That didn't answer the question, but we had to laugh about it. He was a funny guy. We liked him. Okay. Promotions are based on your skill level, time in service, time in grade, appraisals, and the needs of the Air Force. After duty hours, okay? Let's say you're at your permanent station now and you're doing your 9 to 5 job, and what do I do afterwards? Don't hang around the barracks and start drinking beer all night. That's stupid, okay? Get involved with something. Do something. Do some, mentoring. You can volunteer to be honor guard. I don't know if you can read this, but I'm honor guard. Loved it. Overseas deployments. I had at least 5 overseas deployments. All of them were unaccompanied. In other words, I did not take my wife. My wife, the kids, the sandbox, also, sorry about that, stays home. Let's see, I had 5 to Europe, 1 to Southeast Asia, and 1 to Southwest Asia. Desert Shield. Some notifications came within 15 hours. I'll never forget August 2nd, I think it was 1990, that's when Hussein went into Kuwait. That was on the 2nd. On the 6th, I was already over there. Yeah, pretty quick. We sent 2 or 3 aircraft over on the 4th. I'm on my way home on the 5th. And when I got home, my eldest son said, hey, Dad, call this number. When somebody wants to talk to you, I called and says, Dave, pack your you-know-what. You're leaving tomorrow at 07:30. Of course, it never happened at 07. It was more like 9 o'clock at night, but hurry up and wait. There are some humorous events. Let me tell you about one time going into Goose Bay. I happened to be flying in, I was in the cockpit, I was on the jump seat. I've got the headset on, and I'm listening to what's going on. And the tower at Goose Bay, Labrador is saying, yeah, winds are out of the 270 at 18 knots, clear and still. Well, we land. We happen to have a few passengers. So they sent, they'll call it like a school bus out to pick us up. Coming back to base ops, the snow stacked up higher than the bus off on the sides. So we got in the base there, and the pilot, maybe co-pilot, said, I thought you said it's clear and still. He says, yeah, it's clear up to your ass, it's still snowing. Welcome to Canada. A little Canadian humor there. I thought it. Then, when I got activated for Bosnia, they sent me to Pisa, Italy, because I was with a tanker outfit. Well, you don't put tankers there. You have to put tankers out somewhere else. They put us in Pisa, Italy. I'd be working, I don't know how many days and nights there. It's just, you'd be surprised how many man hours it takes to do anything. So I finally got a day off. They kept us at a local hotel because there was no military facility other than Camp Darby, not too far away. But they kept us there. They gave rental cars all there. They provided breakfast, all these nice things. It was actually pretty nice. So anyhow, on that day off, across the street in the way here, there's like a carnival going on. So a bunch of guys get together, and they had a go-kart track there. I got to do this. So I get on a go-kart. It's a wooden track. And if you've never been in Italy or driven to Italy, believe me, here I am being sexist, but it's true. All these young Italian men, they want to pass you, they're right on your bumper. And you give them an inch, they take a mile. Vroom, vroom. They're scaring the hell out of me. Anyhow, we're at the go-kart track, and I beat every one of them. I thought that was a personal triumph to me, but I loved it. The next day, I had a heart attack. I didn't like that too much. So I got air evac to Landstuhl Hospital in Germany. You've probably heard of that. I was there for a while, taking care of me. And then I got air evac back to, eventually, we landed in Washington, D.C. Then we went up to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, because they're going to take me up to Great Lakes. And I went there and I saw the doctor, and we did this, we did that, and they kicked me out. So I was off that day, obviously. The next day I got up and I go to work. Hey, how are you? Nice to see you back. Of course, that's not always exactly true. And I was in the service to young airmen. When I say airmen, it's generic for airmen or women. They're afraid to talk to me. The E7s and the E8s, they're waiting for me to die so they can get promoted. Lieutenants don't want to talk to me. Say, well, God, I'm not talking to him. That mean SOB. Anyhow, I got back there, and I got cornered by the colonel there. I said, Dave, what are you doing here? And I said, well, I work here, don't I? Will you go home? We'll call you next week to come in. Okay. Well, I'm bored. I'm the kind of guy who likes to go to work. I love Monday morning. I love it. So I go there. The next thing I know, we have the deputy wing commanders there, the group commander, the chief of finance there, chief of personnel, chief of medics there. They're all there. I happen to know all of them. They all know me personally. And they said, Dave, what do you want to do? I said, I like it here. I'm not ready to quit yet. So I did. They let me stay in. And it's some of the best years of my life. Veterans Day, formerly known as Armistice Day, had its origins in World War I, when fighting stopped on the Western Front on November 11th, 1918. Hence the 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month. It's an official holiday. All right, David, be prepared here. In closing, remember, life is good. It's not always easy. There are mountains and challenges we all face every day. You don't have to like it, you just have to. That's right. These things will follow you for the rest of your life. Don't give up. Never. Remember, success comes disguised as hard work. Respect our flag, our country, your parents, your teachers, the police, and one another. Those who disrespect our flag have never been handed a folded one. This is our keynote speaker today, Old Glory. On behalf of the President of the United States and the United States Air Force and a grateful nation, please accept this flag as a symbol of our appreciation for your loved one's honorable and faithful service. And then I hand it to the next of kin. Then I salute the flag, and then we dismiss ourselves. Thank you for this time you've afforded me. I didn't mean to bloviate too much, but I really do appreciate it. It's very kind of you people to do it. Thank you very much.
On behalf of our school community, all of the students here, could we give Mr. Jordan and all of our veterans that we saw on the screen and veterans that are a part of your life, can we give them another round of applause? The 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. We now know it as Veterans Day. It began as Armistice Day, and it celebrated the end of World War I. Those soldiers heard "Welcome Home," that many veterans, like Mr. Jordan, never got to hear until maybe 50 years later. Vietnam was a very different conflict for our nation. It cast an incredibly long and dark shadow over the last 75 years. There were certainly heroes, as there are in any conflict, but it was a very humbling experience for our nation. And it was also very traumatic. When troops came home from World War I and World War II, there were great celebrations. But for our nation, Vietnam ended in a way that led to a great deal of reflection, a great deal of grief, much of it unresolved. One of the things that helped us heal as a nation from that conflict was the Vietnam Wall. In Washington, D.C., there are 140 black granite panels engraved with 58,000 names. That memorial is buried into the soil of Washington, D.C. in an angled pattern with one set of 70 panels aimed toward the Washington Monument and the other toward the Lincoln Memorial. We can certainly look at Veterans Day through the lens of those who chose to serve. But I'd like to share a perspective for those that did not have the choice, those that knew someone who did, those who knew someone who died, and have memories and mementos to share of their memories. There's a book called Offering at the Wall. Each year, each day, people that visit the Vietnam Wall leave things, some of which you would expect, like a flowered wreath or a picture of a loved one. Some of it you would not, and I'd like to share some of those pictures with you, because I think they're some of the most thoughtful things that we can remember. Today is not always about those who fought, but it's also about those who grieved, that were left behind and still felt the impact of war. Memories of how a soldier coped and how they built bonds with one another, a deep brotherhood that the military offers. How soldiers identified themselves very simply, plainly: name, number, and rank. There are symbols of lost childhoods that never came to fruition from family members who loved them. There were prayers for homecomings that never occurred and never happened, and that others never got to experience. There are haunting artifacts that leave us with questions about the orders that some of them had to follow. There are notes of regret, reflections about friendships that were once an unbreakable bond and have long since passed. There's notes like this one, an apology written to someone that this man never knew. He took his life, never met him, but is deeply saddened by what he felt he had to do. There are portraits of innocence, small things that we often associate with a young child, but yet on the back, something very profound, messages of anger. When I die, I know I will go to heaven because I've spent my time in hell. And lastly, I leave you with this on a day where we talk a lot about war, and we should talk more of peace. I hope we can all pause and think about the person that left this, that when the lion of war becomes the peace of lamb, we all live the life that we want to. Thank you for being here today. I want to introduce Madison, who's going to return to our podium and introduce an amazing musical performance.
Thank you, Dr. Fuhr. I would like to introduce the piece that will be performed today by our Neuqua Valley Varsity Singers, entitled For Spacious Skies. This song is an arrangement by David L. Bruner that incorporates a new melody by Paul Short, which uses the familiar text from America the Beautiful. This version uses all 4 verses of the original poem by Catherine Lee Bates, many of which are most often performed. In the summer of 1893, Mrs. Bates was teaching English at Colorado College. Later she described, "One day, some of the other teachers and I decided to go on a trip to 14,000-foot Pikes Peak. We hired a prairie wagon near the top. Near the top, we had to leave the wagon and go the rest of the way on mules. I was very tired, but when I saw the view, I felt great joy. All the wonders of America seemed displayed there, with the sea-like expanse. On the pinnacle of the mountain, a poem started to come to her, and she wrote the words down upon returning to her hotel room. The poem was first published with the name Pikes Peak in the Independence Day edition of the church periodical The Congressionalist in 1895. A hymn tune composed by church organist and choir master Samuel A. Ward in 1882 was first published with Miss Bates' poem in 1910 as America the Beautiful. The Neuqua Valley Choir dedicates its arrangement of the patriotic text to all who serve and have served in the military. Thank you for your tremendous sacrifice and bravery. All the pictures in the slideshow represent mothers, daughters, grandfathers, fathers, son, alumni, and relatives of our Neuqua Valley staff. We treasure their service to our country and are pleased to have the opportunity to honor them today. Thank you.
These words have been used often, but carry much weight. The price of freedom is high. We cannot afford to forget those willing to pay it. Today, we celebrate Americans' veterans for keeping this nation the land of the free and the home of the brave. When you see a veteran, take time to thank them for serving our country. Thank you all for being here today. Would you please rise as we retreat the colors?
Color guard, attention. Forward, march. Color guard, halt. Prepare to retrieve the colors. Retrieve colors. Return. Color guard, halt. Dismiss.
It's a fairly natural question to ask yourself after experiencing something like this. What role do I have? What voice do I have? What choice do I have? I would ask two things. First, if you enjoyed some of the things that I showed on the screen regarding the artifacts left at the wall, there are additional ones out in our auditorium lobby. Take time to read those stories. That is a choice you can make to honor veterans. Second, I want you to think about telling a parent or a loved one what you saw today. Call a grandparent. Tell them what you heard today. It will have deep meaning to them, and that can be your choice to serve. Thank you for being here. Please return to 7th hour. Thank you.
Test 1, 2. To all of our tech, media, everybody that went into the planning of today, we're going to take a photo up on the riser. So students who are behind a camera, behind the computers, our adult staff,